Okay, so just for the next, we're going to break in 10 minutes for lunch. But I just want to kind of quickly go over the 5 types of styling that we're going to be talking about. So I made these jobs distinct by the client, who the client is. Because the processes, although they're similar, and fundamentally they're very similar and the same, but specifically they can be really different. And usually that's based on who the client is, and who is like who's paying you, and who's the end word, really. I mean, with editorial, you're not getting paid, but they're paying you in terms of pages. Like that's how I look at it. So I mean, every job listed here is necessary for a stylist to survive and then thrive. So to me, the ultimate is consultancy. Like that's what we all work for. That you can get a consultancy with a celebrity. You can get a consultancy, with magazines, even though they're super rare. Like Grace's kind of contract or job. You can get a consultancy with a designer. You can get a consultancy with a brand, like a sports company or anything like that. But those are the kind of big paydays. Like you get four consultancies for a 6-month or 1-year period, and you're done. And you're making you're making top 1% income, like 400,000 or more. So, which is really fun. Let me tell you. Well, and you're freed up in a lot of ways to do more creative, which is great. And you can fund your editorial and really go. I mean, the reason that the top people can do such amazing editorial is because they have the money to fund it. If they want to have like a whole bunch of clothes created or a whole bunch of crazy hats done by Stephen Jones for this editorial, they can pay Stephen to have it done because they're doing 4 or 5 amazing consultancies that are paying their rent, and then some. And then you have like actual marketing. That's when you really start to build your business. Everything is like getting prepared for a consultancy. So I'm going to we're going to talk about consultancy today. Today we're going to go through editorial, which is the shoots you do for magazines. I consider it anything from media, and you're not really getting paid, but like I said before, you're getting paid in pages or coverage, and it's your marketing. It's how you build a book. Commercial, which I say commercial because I always say advertising, but it's not always advertising, because advertising I think of as like an image on a billboard or in a magazine. But like right now, like especially since the internet, it's become a lot of like point of sale on the internet, where they're just using it on their website for their e-commerce stores. I mean, I get paid my full day rate to do that for people, which blows my mind. I'm like, okay, great. And then sometimes they'll take it and they'll use it for all their mannequins. They'll use it for all of their in-store imagery and like all that kind of stuff. So commercial is just pretty much anything with a big paycheck. It doesn't have to be big, a paycheck. Like marketing, any kind of marketing for a company. That's why it's good to have a little bit of a marketing background. Because if you understand what they're doing, then what they're trying to do to build the brand, you can, from a stylist perspective, really help them with the images we create. But it's good to know a little bit about that background. Commercial jobs, I consider them different from consultancies because commercial jobs are usually a 2-week lead time, 2 week or less, which is scary. I rarely get booked and confirmed any earlier than 2 weeks. So you're just with someone, you're working with a team for like 2 weeks at the most. I mean, has anybody been in a situation where it's been longer than that? That wasn't a consultancy? No, that's the usual, yeah. And sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's 3 days lead time, and you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And then, so consultancies, which we've spoken about a little bit, that's where we get our substantial income, and consultancies usually go between 6 months, like for a season, and then sometimes they're a year, depending on how the company works. Usually the more mass market companies will do the year, and then the high fashion, I find, goes to season to season. And then there's runway, which is one of my favorites. Runway is interesting because the client can sometimes be directly the designer, and then sometimes it's their marketing director. Like I've had a lot of positions, that's why marketing and PR is so important, having good relationships and knowing a little bit about what they do, because they're usually the one hiring you, I've found, or at least the one pulling in portfolios to then show and sit with the designer. And they're usually the person you have your first meeting with to like be before you're introduced to the designer. And I mean, for runway, the kind of runway we're going to talk about is the runway that happens for the fashion weeks in the different cities. New York, Milan, London, and Paris. Those are the only ones I know that are really respected. LA, a couple people go, but it's not considered, like, you know, it's like if Kathy Horn, who's the New York Times critic, Kathy Horn's going, Susie Menkes from the International Herald Tribune is there, then to me it's like a real city, it's a real show. So that's what I base the criteria on. And that's the kind of shows we're going to talk about, like the process for that, working with them for that. And then tomorrow morning we'll talk about celebrity. And celebrity is tricky, it's really lucrative, and you can't deny it. Like, I used to think, like, I'm not going to do celebrity. You know, like, nope, not going to do it. Nope, I don't want to deal with them. Like, I'm an artist. Like, I don't need to deal with, like, someone else's crazy personality. And then when I started working for Vogue, all I did was celebrity and portraiture in the beginning. And it was such great practice. But I realized it's like, in our current culture, in our current climate with fashion, celebrities are what sell clothes. And as much as I hate, you know, and as much as I want to be like Grace and like totally romantic about it and like, you know, wish that that wasn't the situation, I'm like, okay, the only way I can move forward and be effective and powerful is to embrace it and then, you know, do my own interpretation of it. And work with, you know, and be really strategic about who I work with. So we'll talk about celebrity, and the other tricky thing about celebrity is like you're dealing with taking care of the celebrity and their publicist, and you're also dealing with taking care of your original client, because there's always another client. It's hardly ever just those two. Like sometimes if you're doing a press tour, there's also the studio. You're dealing with the studio who's paying for you to style for the press. Like very rarely is the celebrity actually paying me directly. It's coming from one of their clients. And, or if you're shooting for a magazine, you're taking care of your editor. So you have to take care of your editor and a publicist and a celebrity all at the same time. And with celebrities, you do editorial, you do consultancy. Well, you can get like a consultancy with a celebrity, but you're doing commercial, sometimes you're doing runway. You know, depending, because there's so many celebrities that have their own brands now too. So, you know, you're really dealing with all the processes we're going to talk about today, but with the celebrity and their publicists as well. So it makes it a little more complicated. Cool? Okay. Let's see. So, I mean, with each job, we have a similar job to perform, which is to create a compelling image, which then tells the voice in the story. And I say image even when it's a runway show because it's really about the runway pictures after, or the video, so it's still imagery. You know, you still have to be responsible from the hair to the makeup to the casting, It's like the person who gets fired and hired the most around all that stuff is the stylist. So it's like our responsibility to create all that. Okay, I think that's it for lunch, it's lunchtime. So anything before lunch?